I run a cake business. I charge people hundreds for wedding cakes. Every last one is made using Pillsbury cake mix I buy for $1 a box at Walmart. I suck at baking. Every time I've ever tried to make a cake from scratch, it sucked. But baking is like my whole deal. My friends all call me the cake girl. It's like my whole life is a lie. People compliment my cakes all the time, telling me how delicious they are, telling me it's so much better than box mix cake, telling me they could never bake a cake so delicious. Well, guess what? For $1, they too can make a cake just as delicious. Just add oil, eggs, and water. In my defense, I love cake decorating. I make all of the frostings and fondant from scratch. I just hate baking effing cakes. I base my prices mostly on the decoration of the cakes and not of the cake itself, if that makes sense. Still, no one knows about this except my husband. Even my best friends think I fucking slave over the oven mixing and baking these damn cakes. I have been doing this for years. If anyone knew, my business and reputation would be in the toilet for sure. I keep telling myself I have to learn how to make the damn cakes without the box mixes, but I never do it. I feel like such a sham sometimes. Cousin died when we were both 17. There was a reception at his house just after the funeral. I went into his room and stole all the money that was there, took some other valuables that his parents wouldn't realize were gone. No one knows that I did it. They just assumed he didn't have any money in his room, only loose change. I don't regret it, but I will never admit I did it. Background: I'm a guy in my late 20s who was taken into care aged 7. Everyone around me already knows that I was brought up by foster families because I had a tough early childhood. I deliberately keep it vague and say stuff like I'd rather not go into it, so that people will just assume I was abused in some way and they'll stop asking about it. The truth is that for the first 7 years of my life, I was brought up as a girl by my difficult birth mother who really wanted a daughter and didn't let the fact that she gave birth to a boy stop her from trying to raise one. She was a pretty successful professional in a legal field, not entirely sure what, and had me via anonymous sperm donor from a fertility clinic. She found out I was a boy at a late ultrasound and then moved across the country, gave birth to me at home, and continued to move about until I was 5 or so. It was just the two of us all my life. We had contact with other people, of course, but they rarely got very close. I had lots of friends, but was always supervised. I found out way later that my mother's strict puritanical Christianity was a cover story she used to explain why she was so adamant about me being private and never letting anyone see me get changed or anything. I just accepted all of this as fact, having never been told anything different. I was sent to a religious school for girls and had a really great childhood. I was a bit of a tomboy and played with Lego and toy animals rather than dolls and stuff. But that's not unusual, and no one ever questioned I was a girl, even me. I knew about men and women, but had never really seen much of naked people. My mother never ever spoke to me about it, but I kinda had the impression that when I grew up and got boobs and stuff, my private parts would somehow change and I'd become a woman, while other kids would keep their private parts and become men. I don't know, to be honest. I never really thought about it. Anyway, I carried on with my happy girlhood and had a bunch of friends. And everything was great until I was 7, and a teacher accidentally spilled a cup of hot coffee over me at school. The liquid soaked through my clothes and was scalding me, so the staff immediately stripped me out of my dress and underwear to get the hot coffee away from my skin. And then they found out. The cops were called, and I got taken to speak with who I guess would be social services. They asked me a bunch of questions about life at home and stuff. Meanwhile, my mother was taken in for questioning too. She refused to acknowledge me as male and insisted I was her daughter. Because she was, not seeing things clearly, I wasn't allowed to go back home, but got put with a foster family and went through loads of therapy and stuff. The worst part was that literally overnight, I lost everything. My mother, my home, all my toys, all my clothes. I moved school, so I lost all my friends. They cut all my hair off and told me I wasn't a girl anymore. It was really, really traumatic. The first foster home wasn't that great. They had 3 boys already, and going from a sheltered religious-only child upbringing to a rough-and-tumble testosterone-filled environment was really difficult. They tried to force me to be more masculine, and I was just too confused about what they wanted. Anything girly was reprimanded, and I felt so lost and alone because nothing I did was right. I tried to hurt myself when I was 11 and again at 13 because I didn't feel I fit in anywhere. After the second attempt, they moved me to a different foster family who were awesome. I consider them to be my parents. They actually stood up for me. The first thing they did was let me grow my hair. From when I got taken into care, they buzzed my hair short, and I hated it. They always had to hold me down and do it forcefully while I was crying and fighting. My new parents flatly refused to do it and said that loads of boys had long hair. They also let me quit karate and football and take up swimming and jazz dance. Since I'd been in care, no one had ever stood up for my right to choose what activities to do or how to dress before. It was amazing. In the end, I came out of it with a pretty healthy gender identity. I'm a guy, but not the most stereotypically masculine guy ever, and I'm fine with that. I went through school, got my degree, and have a pretty good job and an amazing supportive wife. Everything looks great. But I can never speak about my early childhood and how I grew up as a little girl. Well, it's more of a secret to my friends that I've made recently. Some background first. I don't like being touched or hugged, and I'm incredibly uncomfortable with intimacy in general. When I was in the 8th grade, a bunch of girls in my class convinced me they had a friend who fancied me. They said she had seen me somewhere and thought I was cute. Faked a Snapchat account, and they talked to me every night for a few months, invited me out to the movies, and obviously didn't show up, then revealed to the whole grade that I had been tricked into having an imaginary girlfriend. I was mocked viciously by everyone in the grade, and ever since then I can't really trust women. I also can't believe that a girl may have feelings for me. Even when they explicitly tell me they have feelings for me, I can't help but feel like they're trying to trick me. It's caused a lot of insecurity, and I can't get attached to people easily. I'm terribly afraid to text or message people first because I'm convinced I would be annoying them. What's worse is that when I think about it, I know it probably isn't true. But I can't help but feel like it is. Even though it was grade 8, it was around the time when attraction to women was just starting to get real. So to be hurt at a time as delicate as that has really done some damage. The secret, of course, is that I had been dumb enough to be tricked. As you might suspect, the whole thing has left me afraid of being vulnerable. To have this found out by my newer friends, as in university friends, would put me in a really uncomfortable place. I probably wouldn't be able to be their friend anymore. Okay, so this is a secret I've kept for nearly 20 years. During the summers when I was growing up, my parents would often leave my brother and I'm male, with our aunt and uncle who lived out in the country. It was great as they had 4 sons of ages close to ours, so we had a lot of fun doing kid stuff. One summer when I was 8, the oldest cousin was maybe 16. We somehow got talking and he asked me if I wanted to sleep in his room that night. He has the nicest room and bed, So I was all for it. Got into bed, and he asked if he could touch my privates. I was 8 and just thought it was okay, so I let him. He rubs it for a bit and then asks me to do the same to him. So I do. This progresses and eventually I'm sucking his privates. I think I knew this was wrong, so I said I didn't want to carry on. We stop and I go to sleep quite confused. I wake up and he hands me some money and tells me never to tell anyone about what happened. Next night, he tries to do the same thing. But now all I care about is the money. So I do it. This carried on for 2 summers. Eventually, I got old enough to realize it was quite wrong, regardless of the money, and stopped. I've not told anyone this. He's now married with 2 kids. I'm also married and we see them sometimes at family events. I don't have the balls to even try and talk to him about it. Hell, I'm not even sure what I'd say.